I didn't make it up. I just finally learned it. Okay, Becky, let's see here. We'll get started. Looks like we're getting started right now. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and start this meeting because we have a full agenda tonight and it is 7 p.m. All is well. I think we're going to start off tonight with Rebecca Aldaco, and the slide I prepared for her. Architect hired by a property owner who is preparing a potential rezoning application for 1625 Stuart Street. The intent is to rezone the property, and she'll be speaking about that. So let me get, she gave us some visuals, so let me get those up and then we'll get started. Okay. There we go. So, yeah, why don't you? And then you could even, yeah, we'll do this.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
My name is Rebecca Aldaco. I'm an architect at Aldaco Design Group. And we were hired by our client, Jerry Crystal. He lives at 1625 Stewart.
Can I get you, sorry, we actually have this recording and we ask people to speak up as much as possible.
Okay, I can do that. So Jerry is joining here on the Zoom too, and I think he wanted just to start by introducing himself and say a few things before I get into the technical pieces of what we're presenting.
Jerry? Can you unmute Jerry? I wonder if do I need to do that? There we go. Hi, Jerry.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
And can you hear us online?
Charlotte, I can.
Okay.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. My name is Jerry Crystal. My wife and I have been living here on Stuart Street for the past 35 years. We raised our children here, but our children have moved away. And we are looking into what options we have with our house, which is coming up on 80 years old. And what we did was I began going to different meetings by unlocking housing choices. And I'm seeing what the community wants. And that is our goal, to build something on the property that would enhance the community and also fill in at least most of the goals of what the unlocking housing choices would like to do. I spoke with my architect, Becky, who was there, and she will explain more what we're looking into do. And we are here to get your support so we can get this zone properly and be able to build something on it that is acceptable for the community and fits into the goals of the unlocking housing choices. Without further ado, I will let my architect, Becky Aldaco, explain what we are looking to do and how we hope to go about doing it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. And before we jump into any drawings too, I just wanted to let everyone know that our intention tonight is to, we're very early in the process. We're really here to listen and gather feedback from the community before we go into next steps. We've already met with Councilwoman Torres about the proposal. We kind of started with her. So, rezonings have been, something that they're working on, finding ways to do it properly. We've also met initially with Denver, with CPD, get their feedback and input on what we're hoping to do. And one of the things, of course, in the next step along the process was talk to the registered neighborhood organizations who are interested in listening And we've also started reaching out to neighbors in the vicinity just to get their feedback. And so we're in process of all these things and are really gathering feedback and input from the neighborhood at this point. So we have some visuals of what we're thinking. However, nothing is set in stone, of course. They're just very conceptual. We're working on drawings to make sure that what we're hoping to do fits within the goals for Denver and the community. So just wanted to be clear about that. Okay, so the property is located in an area where Denver has actively been looking on how to support incremental housing growth instead of large-scale redevelopment with housing types that sit between single-family home and large apartment building types. You'll hear, I think you guys are hearing from the city tonight about the unlocking housing choices as well. So that's a great pairing, I think, with this project too, just so that you can hear more about the city's priorities and their broader goals in taking this approach. It's really important for us to explore what's called the missing middle housing that is so needed in this neighborhood. And so we've designed these units initially and with that very much in mind. Our intent is not to disrupt the neighborhood, but to thoughtfully add housing options in a way that still feels like Sloan's Lake. So what we're requesting or what we're exploring at this point is the lot is currently zoned USUC, which is a single family unit at 75 feet wide. We're looking to rezone it to UTUB, which would basically allow us to split the lot in two and have 2-unit zoning. So it would allow for 2 duplexes, then totaling 4 units on the site.
How many square feet did you say?
The duplexes or the lots? I want to say it's 7,000. I've got it on there. It's a big lot. It's 75 feet wide by 125-ish feet deep. So it's a large, yeah, it's because, yes, it's like a triple technically, right? 25, 25, and 25. A lot of Denver lots are 50 feet wide, 2 25s, but this one is 3 25s. Currently, there's just a single family house, a story and a half with an attached garage. And we're also looking at the possibility of also providing ADUs above the garage as well. So this would essentially, this lot could provide up to 6 units potentially with this zoning. Let's see, there is rear alley access on this lot. So we would keep the vehicle access where it typically belongs in that neighborhood. And we're proposing that the garage and ADU access would be from the alley as well. The way that we designed these duplexes were we staggered the units so that we can still be sure that the front doors are facing the primary street and both access that way. And then we're providing parking for each duplex. So each duplex would have its own garage space, and then the ADU would have a parking pad on the exterior. We wanted to be sure we were still providing adequate parking for the project that we're proposing. Let's see. Another thing that's very important to us is that we are utilizing a modest scale in the overall form and height of the buildings. Because I know initially, we've seen some of the projects that have gone up that feel really massive in scale, providing more units sometimes are just 3 stories tall or very large. So, the nature of what we're trying to do in providing that missing middle housing is designing things that are intentionally smaller in scale and simpler in form, which then really translates to more constructible budget options for the project. Okay, so I think we can go the next week. We developed some initial floor plans. Again, very conceptual, mostly to make sure that what we're hoping to do can fit right, within the footprints, because one of the other departments that we met with was HOST, which is the affordable housing department in Denver, because what we're hoping to do is that 3 of these units would be offered at market rates, but 1 would be offered at an income restricted unit. That host would help us determine what that range would be. And we would go through the covenant process to solidify that. And so I lost my train of thought there. So we wanted to make sure that the footprints we were dealing with would be appropriate for families, right? Because that was one of the requirements that host was really pushing, that they would be units that could house a family. And they kind of threw out a metric of like a 3-bedroom for them, felt like that was appropriate. So if you go to the next slide, this is the upper level.
What are we doing here? What's going on? All of a sudden it's not moving.
It's not moving for you, huh?
Ugh, there we go.
There we go. So, you know, we started pushing the boxes around the site and wanted to make sure that we could fit 3 bedrooms in a type of unit that could help house a family. And while we feel they're very efficient floor plans, right? Like the closets aren't huge, the bathrooms aren't huge, but we also feel like that is appropriate for the type of product that we're trying to put together. Same with the ADUs, you can see kind of what that potential floor plan would look like above the garage, behind those duplexes.
Is there a basement?
Well, that's a great question. We are thinking potentially there could be. However, it's really hard to know if you can have a basement unless you get a soils report, which will tell us the level of the water table. Because if the water table is too high, which it is often in this neighborhood, then you can't really do a basement without very costly waterproofing things that you need to do. So we wanted to make sure that at least we could get 3 bedrooms, even if we can't do a basement. But ultimately, we would hope that that would be square footage that we could potentially capture.
You'll be right by the lake, so
I know.
who knows about that, right?
Right, exactly. It's always been a mixed bag when we do that. So, yeah, so then the next slide, again, conceptual, but we really wanted to explore, you know, what the forms could potentially look like from the street. Again, we wanted them to present, I know they're duplexes and they've got, you know, their own entrance. However, the front porch was really important to us. A simple building form was really important to us, again, to help with the cost of construction and just the massing from the streets. They don't feel too large in scale. So we did these, again, very conceptual. We haven't really explored materials yet, or exterior materials or anything like that, but you know, wanted to make sure that they felt appropriate in massing and scale. So we thought it would be fun to put these together too at this juncture, even though we were kind of on the fence, like, is it a good time to take it this far or not? But again, we really are looking for feedback from everyone before we take it too far. So let's see.
I think
Yeah.
people to the north, please, that you're not.
Yeah. Agreed, because you can, right? You're allowed to do 2.5 stories in that zoning, which you could put that 3rd level on, which great, it gives you more square footage. However, it is more costly because you have this upper level that requires a roof deck and usually a flat roof, and you have to support it structurally because it can't go all the way theta. So there's just a lot of reasons why we felt like this was more appropriate as well from a cost perspective and a form and massing perspective too. So let's see. So we ultimately, I'll try to wrap up quickly because I'm taking a little bit more time than I thought, but some of Denver's unlocking housing choices that they've been exploring were more options for different household sizes, opportunities for aging in place, opportunities for first-time home buyers, opportunities for multi-generational living, and gentle density that looks and still feels residential, which we felt like this concept really hit most of those key items in our mind. So yeah, so really feedback that we're seeking tonight from all of you is, you know, if the site layout and scale feels appropriate, the massing feels appropriate to you, do you feel like these are design elements that would fit in the neighborhood? Any questions about access and parking? And then any other priorities that you all would have that we can take with us That-
What's the square footage of these?
Yes, so each floor is about 720 square feet each.
Okay.
So overall, we're under 1,500 square feet on the main and upper level. Of course, if we have basement square footage, that would be a little bit more. The ADU, I think, is more around like 550, so smaller. The garages are only one car garage for each duplex unit, but we can't really go much further on lot coverage, and we wanted to provide ADU parking as well.
So when you're dividing the lots
Mhm.
to 37 wide,
Correct.
and it's going to what's the zoning?
UTUB.
So the B lot size, the lot size is acceptable in that zone.
Correct. Yes.
Mhm.
So if you go back to our site plan, everything that we're showing here fits that zoning code, from the setbacks to the lot coverage to the square footage max and all of those things. So even the front 65% of the lot to the rear, it meets it checks all the zoning criteria. We're not asking for anything like a variance to.
Because a couple of times in our neighborhood, we wanted to split a lot and making each of the split lots
Yeah.
non-conforming.
Right.
And I just wanted to make sure that
Yes.
with the 75 foot, you're probably okay.
Yes, we are. I think it's 4,500 is the max or the minimum that you have to do for that. So we still, we're right over that minimum with this proposal. Yeah.
I would like to see the actual lot
Mhm.
with these visuals in the lot, and it'd be so much easier to get the concept.
Like from the top, maybe, are you saying?
Yeah,
Like,
something
this
like
is
that.
yeah. So you can kind
So,
of see the-
because, this looks rural here, and we all
Oh,
know
I
that
see.
isn't happening. And then my other question is, have you talked to your neighbors?
Yes, Jerry has been talking to his neighbors.
Okay,
Initially from the
Right, Jerry.
couple, and that will be our next main focus, is really engaging the neighbors in the 200 radius vicinity and beyond. But Denver really wanted us to talk to the Arnos first as a priority. So we're starting with you, but we have started that reach out ourselves as well.
So the cross streets,
Mhm.
is it Canejos to
17th and Stewart, between 16th and 17th. So the lake is
Mhm.
actually could go. Oh, do you still have
okay,
that?
so this is in the last block up to Sloan's Lake.
Yes, yeah, the
17th
lake is
Avenue.
right
Okay.
there. Yep.
yeah, it's right in the middle,
It's
right?
on
Yeah.
the down slope.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like the third house down.
Yeah.
So
Mhm, mhm.
Yep.
And the homeowner is,
yes,
he would live in one of them, or is he gonna sell it?
potentially. He's not sure yet. He might actually do the development himself and build it. But he's not sure yet. We're still in that initial phase of determining if this is even a possibility of what we can do.
So you're saying he has a house on the property?
Correct.
now?
Yeah, and he lives there right now
So
currently.
he's gonna demolish that?
Correct. It would be, yes, to build
Is it-
these.
It's not a historic.
No. Nope, I think the house was built, Jerry, maybe
80.
help me out,
He said 80 years old.
in the 50s.
Can you
I
unmute,
think.
Jerry?
Well, he
Yeah.
said the house was 80 years old.
Yeah, I think it was built in the 50s, and he's lived there since the 80s, I believe.
He's talking over here, Jerry. I don't know.
You need to unmute. Hold on, Jerry, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, I just wanted to add, wanted to add in. Yeah, the house was built in 1949. So it's coming up on 80 years. It's like 77 years old. I do want to also mention, I did speak to several of the people living in the area. I did not get any pushback, and they encouraged me to go on with the project.
Wow, I have to, I'm surprised. For you though, thank you.
Number one.
They encouraged me to go on with the project. I do want, can you still hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, I do want to also mention, and I think Rebecca touched upon this, is that besides the one unit that's going to be, restricted and based on the missing middle, also the ADUs that we have in the back will also offer affordable housing, for a small family. It's a single unit, and it's also will become more affordable, something that it's not right now on that block and would be nice, to have something there with the ADUs and people, will be able to rent them out. Of course, that's going to be up to whoever owns the house, but, it's an additional possibility for housing that is more affordable.
This could be like the poster child for Melissa's talk,
Oh,
I know.
that's really what we talked about, being able to make a poster type of housing unit that would fit into the to the affordable, to unlocking housing choices. I actually went to a few of the meetings and I picked up there, what they're looking to do. I wasn't able to participate at the time, but I picked up a lot by being there. And we based our building and our thoughts about it, according to what they want to get done.
Zoning, does it permit you to go up to 36 feet?
I think it's 35-foot max, but you have the bulk plane to deal with too, right? Which is this imaginary envelope that you have to build within. And so that often changes how inset that third level would be, if that makes sense. But yes, it could be, it absolutely could be. And so that's some of the other things that we've been talking about with Councilwoman Torres. And I think that's also what they're exploring with unlocking housing choices, is how can we make it be this, right? How can we, what tools can we have to kind of commit to providing what we're showing in it, right? And so that's important, that when we're looking at this package, that we've got a product in mind that checks these boxes.
So what was the height that you said you were intending to go?
These, I don't know exactly, but they're probably, I think we were thinking a 9-foot main level, and then probably an 8-foot upper level. And then depending on how much you pitch the roof, right, it can be another.
412.
I think I have them at a 612 or 512 in that rendering. I think so too, with that type of roof form. So it's probably anywhere, it's probably around 24, 25 to 30 feet to the peak of the roof, right?
Much more comfortable than what I have in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Goes up the side.
I know, they go to the max, right? They put that third level on, and it, by the nature of the zoning rules, it has to be kind of a flat roof, because you can't fit a pitched roof when you're going that high. It's going to pierce that 35-foot max height. So it's hard to design something that fits, but you see it everywhere, right? Because they're trying to maximize that square footage, which again isn't necessarily creating a cost-effective product, because you're doing flat roofs and you're doing rooftop decks and you're doing the structural frame to hold it up, right? So we, again, to find that missing middle, we really wanted to simplify the form. So.
Well, thank you very much. As an architect,
Oh.
retired.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you.
No.
And thank you for the affordable piece of that as well.
We're excited that there are
That
options.
makes it much more attractive to this group.
Yeah, good. Us too. Great. Any other feedback or questions for us that we can take back to
What's the
Denver?
next step?
So, you are really, we heard back from We Can as well, which I know that they're not taking positions on rezoning. So I did speak with someone that is on their affordable housing committee. We may set up another, if we can get some responses back from some of these other registered neighborhood organizations. We'd love to just keep collecting feedback. So it's potential that we'll have another similar meeting like this. We are going to double down on our efforts for neighborhood outreach, and then from there we're hoping to meet with Councilwoman Sandoval again, just kind of recapping everything that we've talked about. And I'm sorry, Torres. And then as soon as if we get favorable feedback, then we can take it back to CPD, and then they'll give us their feedback on whether or not they would support this proposal. So, yes.
I know it's early, but.
Yeah.
What beyond food price?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say, and of course we all love brick. However, it's very expensive. And so oftentimes we are finding an exterior material that is cost effective and durable, but maybe mimics the rhythm of the brick. And so maybe it's some kind of lap siding that's maybe a 4-inch or something. I feel like that's a good rhythm. But it really, it ultimately depends on cost. And as we all know, construction costs are all over the place, and we're not sure in any given month what is more expensive from a materials perspective. So in my mind, that would probably be something that would be decided as we're getting closer to construction.
I disagree, but. It's extreme. I was a contractor.
Oh.
20% mix.
Yeah.
The 4-inch.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, and of course, I also love finding ways to appropriately blend different kinds of materials, right? And so that would be something that we definitely explore as a next step as we got further down the process. But we want it to look beautiful regardless.
Something like mixing something.
Yeah. Agreed.
Just great.
Right, agreed. Or having some kind of belly band or something and a transition at the top, or, we would definitely not just keep it very plain. So that's important to me too.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you all for listening. And if you have any other feedback, I'm happy to leave, or I'm sure you have my email. We're happy to, if you've got any other thoughts or questions for us. No, but I can.
Brandon, are you on yet?
I can leave some cards maybe.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah.
So actually,
Oh, well, perfect.
historical.
Oh,
Yeah.
We've done a lot of those too. So we've got a lot of experience with landmarks. So
Good.
Great. Well, thank you all. I appreciate your time. And yes, any other questions, feel free to reach out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe since there's already a lot of density in that neighborhood, you might have better luck. Did you say that? I'm
that
sorry
is
if you
true.
said that.
I did not. Right
Okay.
across the street from there, all those road homes that just went up, and it's crazy how it changes.
Good luck.
Thank you. Yes.
Great.
Yeah. What do you? I'm going to talk to Tom, he's the vice president, and I will get back to you. Why don't you reach out and just ask the same question, and I will respond. You bet. Thank you. Good presentation. And next, we have Brandon Schaefer talking to us about the Colorado Mountain.
Title is Special Advisor for Transit and Passenger Rail, Colorado Office of
You're laughing.
I did. It's such a fancy title. So titles are free. What I've learned over the years. Let's see. Am I
You're great.
stand right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, because right by the microphone.
Does that
Perfect.
move? Yep. Okay.
This is just
Awesome.
perfect.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. Again, my name is Brandon Schaefer. I'm a special advisor for the state working on passenger rail and transit efforts here in the governor's second term. Really prioritizing smart growth strategies, kind of dovetailing with previous presenter a little bit on that missing middle housing. I like to call passenger rail the missing middle of transportation that we don't currently have here in Colorado, actually. We have buses, we have BRT, we have light rail, commuter rail, but we don't have actual passenger rail to move Coloradans and visitors throughout the Front Range and throughout the mountains as well, unless you take the Amtrak California Zephyr. I will go over tonight just the state of Colorado's rail agenda with you all and discuss with you all what's dubbed joint service, which is the first 3 daily round trips to Front Range passenger rail, which by statute is scheduled to start no later than January 2029. I'll also just briefly go over Mountain Rail, but to you all tonight here on the Front Range, I'm really going to talk about joint service. And then our third project that we're also prioritizing is co-partnering and co-investing alongside RTD to help them finish another one of their lines that was promised under the Fast Tracks 2004 vote as well. Joint service, the first 3 daily round trips, this is being paid for by using state revenue sources through 2 different Senate bills that were passed and signed into law by the governor. The first is a rental car fee that was levied in 2024, $3 a day. And then the other revenue source that we're using as well is the oil and gas extraction fee on the production of that here in the state, which was really a remarkable feat where the oil and gas industry came along with the environmentals and really said, we will give you part of the revenue that we get from extracting oil and natural gas here in the state to actually use it for the use of transit here in the state and actually weaning Coloradans off of the very product that they sell to market, which was really remarkable. In 2024, it was dubbed the year of transit because of these bills being signed into law. And so once both revenue sources are in full swing, we will have about $150 million a year dedicated just for transit here in the state to really provide more transportation choices for Coloradans here. We are currently in negotiations with BNSF for this project. That was needed before we could even, there were some processes that need to be put in place, but we are negotiating with the host railroads. We're not building a project and then taking it to them. They are actively helping us design, refine, and then get it to market as well. Passenger rail in the mountains was really monumental. How many of you have actually gone through the Moffat Tunnel or taken the ski train before? Wow, almost everybody in the room. Okay, so in 2024, the lease for that tunnel, which was 99 years, was up. And so the state leveraged use of the tunnel with Union Pacific for a cashless exchange, where the state now will receive 3 free daily round trips through the tunnel to move Coloradans back and forth in the mountains, and UP retains access to the tunnel to move freight through it as well. We are going to commence the first daily round trip of that before the governor leaves the building, either by November of this year or January of this time next year. And then also just working with RTD on that last project there that you will see. Mountain Rail. There's already existing service there. The California Zephyr goes, to Winter Park. So we're going to go to Granby in the first phase, and I'll show you a map of what we're building towards. We've never really seen polling like this before when it comes to transit and roads. So this was done March of last year during the legislative session. I'm happy to share the polling and the full crosstabs with all of you so that you can actually see the sample size and see where this actually comes from. But we've never had a 10-point margin where Coloradans are saying we would like to see the state also invest in public transit and give us more options rather than just continuing to build new roads and expanding roads. We want to see more options. In policy world, you don't really see this happen very often. We've actually never seen these kinds of numbers before. We think it's because of increased bus staying here in the state, increased Winter Park Express, and just more Coloradans getting back to using transit as well. It's kind of driving these numbers that you see. This is what we're ultimately building towards right here, where you can fly into our world-class airport at Denver International, hop on RTD's A line and take it all the way into Denver. And you can either, for example, get on a train and go into the mountains to Granby, or for example, if you want to take the reverse commute on the Green Line, which is what I'm going to talk to you all about tonight, those who are living north of Denver or even here in Denver can take the train from their community, whether it be Louisville, Boulder, Longmont, Westminster, take it down into Denver without ever having to get in their car to go to the airport. Obviously, that's a big benefit if you're going there, but also just giving tourists and Coloradans more choice to move back and forth. CDOT hosted 12 public town halls in 2024 and 2025. And what we heard in the mountains is that people who live there are actually excited to take the train to come down into Denver for doctor's appointments, medical things, where they don't have to go over Bertha Pass, Highway 40, and hop on I-70. And even last year, when we expanded the Winter Park Express, really the state investing in reducing the ticket fares, we saw a 153% increase in the ridership. It went up to about 45,000 individuals taking the train to and from Denver to Winter Park Resort and coming back in just a 3-month span, which is really, really massive. So we've seen a proof of concept not only on if the state were to invest in ticket prices and reduce it and more Coloradans taking it, but also just more people took it and it's a safer option than having to go across Berthoud Pass as well. So what is joint service? What am I here to talk to you all tonight about? This is a collaborative effort that was mandated by law by former Senate President Steve Fenberg and House Speaker Julie McCluskey to really bring together RTD, CDOT, and the Front Range Passenger Rail District and 2 enterprises within CDOT to actually collaborate and work together to deliver passenger rail here in the state. Previously, there was some version of collaboration between RTD and Front Range Passenger Rail, if you count being ex officio board members of each organization on the opposing side's board. Previously, we didn't have that until this bill was passed. This would be a hybrid service between Northwest Rail, which I'll get to, and then Front Range Passenger Rail as well. But we want to maintain intercity passenger rail classification for federal purposes. When we have a friendlier administration in the outfit in DC that actually brings Coloradans taxpayers back to Colorado, we want to be able to leverage and bring dollars back. If we were to add to this alignment, for example, the route, if we were to add Niwot and add all these other smaller communities, that triggers a different commuter rail system that we are all used to. And we want to maintain this right here. And the other thing that's really big is that we don't need to leverage any new taxes with the voters to commence the first 3 daily round trips of this service, which is massive. We're leveraging revenue already passed by the state and leveraging RTD's revenue as well to bring this to market as fast as possible. And then also just designing this to be mutually beneficial for Front Range when they ultimately get built out as well. This is the difference between these 3 projects. So if you all are familiar with Fast Tracks and Northwest Rail, which was Denver to Longmont initially, they were stopping at 10 different stations. And then joint service came on the scene and we said, we're going to add the 3 missing communities, Westminster, Broomfield, and Louisville, 3 communities who have been paying into the sales tax for this service, but didn't get any. And then making sure that we just did 3 daily round trips. The legislature passed a bill that the governor signed into law that had us model 3 and 5 daily round trips to start with. We just felt more comfortable starting with 3 with the revenue that we have. We could do 5, but we're on the very outer bubble of what's possible with the revenue source. And so we felt more comfortable and it gave us more breathing room with 3. And then Sal Pace, who's a former minority leader from the early 2010s and a Pueblo County Commissioner, was hired by Front Range Passenger Rail, and he became their new general manager on Halloween actually last year. And so in November, their first board meeting under his direction, they added Westminster, Broomfield, and Louisville to their alignment, which means they will now get permanent service when they go to the ballot and are successful. So this is the overview. So it's very car competitive of what we're looking at here. And then max speeds of around 79 miles per hour for joint service that we're looking at as well. The cost of this project. So what do we know as of today? RTD commissioned a study that they published in September 2004 that said if they were to do this and go it alone, they could not deliver the project until 2045 or 2050 at the earliest. It would cost them $650 million to do, and they would only do 3 in the morning and 3 out in the afternoon. The state legislature in that 184 bill that I just talked about, they mandated that we do the modeling for 3 and 5 daily round trips. Our initial study came back and said $885 million because we're also adding Larimer County and doing Loveland and Fort Collins. The price, what I would say today is that we are now at the negotiation table with a Class 1 railroad. A lot of the railroad folks I work with at CDOT and have the pleasure of working with have used a euphemism, even at Union Pacific and BNSF. Some of their staff, when they've been here in Colorado, have said there's God and then there's the railroads, and the railroads really sit on top and really demand a lot. We've never actually sat with the host railroad here in Colorado on the Front Range to negotiate the costs for this project. What you see on the left and in the middle are just study estimates. They're not verified by the host railroad. There are best guesses of what they would be. And I can say that in the negotiations right now that we started in August of last year, we're paying right now it's almost a fraction of this number that you'd see of 650 and even 885. It's nowhere close to those numbers. And that's just because of collaborating and bringing with them a really solid project. Here's our progress for the past couple of years. What I will start off with and really hone in on is that in May of 2024, the governor signed those 2 revenue bills into law. By that summer, by July, we get through the month of June, organize ourselves, and then by July, we start meetings. All of the principals, so this means GM and CEO Deborah Johnson, Front Range Passenger Rail's GM, Shoshana Liu, the governor's designee, and then I'm missing, the enterprises. They all sort of started formally collaborating. And then by June, the very next year, all of the boards at these agencies adopted the formal collaboration to actually form a shell entity of an organization for the sole purpose of negotiating with BNSF. RTD was the first board to go in this process, and they entered into that unanimously. And then following suit, CDOT and Front Range Passenger Rail at the end of June. And then again, this happened at the very last Friday of June, and then you get to 4th of July. We organize ourselves in July, and then by August, BNSF flies out here from Fort Worth to negotiate with Deborah Johnson, Sal Pace, and Lisa Kaufman from RTD, Front Range Passenger Rail, and the Colorado Governor's Office. So they actually made a really good faith effort to come here. They've been here twice. The team has been to Fort Worth once, and we have, I would say, almost weekly meetings with them, negotiation sessions. So on a really, really rapid timeline, this is really uncommon in railroads to build this fast and to actually work this fast. Usually these take, an access agreement is 3 to 5 years. Under the governor's leadership and the General Assembly's leadership, the state got the access agreement for Mountain Rail in 4 months. We took that lesson. We thought we could apply it to the Front Range and also go from August to December, but we're still here negotiating with them. But we're rounding the corner on the deal there that's going to be made. And so what we will do in the first quarter of this year is we're going to get the access agreement and the term sheet completed, take it to all of the governing boards and share with them and the public what has actually been agreed upon, what are the costs associated with the project, and then ask them, can we go and proceed to the next step of this? Because we want to start the design, procurement, and construction for joint service in the next 2 years, because on New Year's Day, 2029 is when this is scheduled to start. So a really, really rapid timeline here. The one thing I'll pause and do a little timeout is like, what is an access agreement? This is a fancy permission slip that's granted by the host railroad, Union Pacific, BNSF, Norfolk Southern, to a state or a passenger rail agency that says we can put passengers on their freight line. So this is what we're currently negotiating, is that agreement with them. When we actually end the negotiations, we will have an agreement with them on the route that we'll take and all of the stops. We will know the schedule. And then the third bullet there is a little bit more legalese, the relationship between BNSF, the state, and likely Amtrak as our operator. What we're nearing the corner on actually is all of the economics. So we will know how much BN will charge every year for the access fee. We will know the annual operations and maintenance of the project, the insurance indemnification. If anybody in here has done insurance before, railroad insurance is a different beast. And so we're nearing the corner on that. And then also performance incentives as well. So what I'll say there is to make sure that our trains are on time and making sure that they actually show up at Denver Union Station and depart at Denver Union Station and show up at Boulder, for example, on time, is we will say to BNSF, for example, if you meet a X% on-time performance, we will take your access fee and we'll do a little small bonus on top of that. But if you don't meet it, we will reduce the access fee amount that's paid every year to really incentivize them, putting our trains first, making sure that they have priority and are going at the times that we agree to in the schedule. The last part here on construction is that we're actually gonna get the capital project. Again, Denver, Boulder, Adams, and Broomfield has never actually had the true cost and the capital projects needed to commence the service for over 20 years. Voters passed this in 2004, implementation in 2005. So for 20 years, we've actually never known the needed capital projects, and we are getting that list right now from them. The other thing that we'll have is also just a process for future changes. If we want to do like a special train, for example, just like the Broncos or the holiday ride that RTD did through the downtown corridor, we'll have that. What we're not going to have is the actual operating costs for Amtrak. That is a separate negotiation. That is a parallel track that we also need to do right after this negotiation. So we're not going to have that cost quite yet. But because we're seeing that mountain rail on the mountain corridor, we're already negotiating with an operator and have a good baseline to know what that cost would be. We're also going to not know how much it is to purchase and or lease a train set. You can lease trains, which was a new finding for me. And then the timeline of when Front Range Passenger Rail will go to the ballot. We're not going to have the right side of this column in the access agreement, and we just won't know any of this information by the time the state concludes negotiations with BNSF. So that concludes our slide for tonight. Going through this, I presented to Tom earlier, I would say October of last year. Yeah, mid-October. But what I'll end on is that we can start the first 3 daily round trips of frontline passenger rail by January 2029 without needing to raise sales taxes here in the metro region, which is massive. We also, under this governor's leadership and under the General Assembly's leadership as well, we are committed to building the full line from Fort Collins all the way down to Pueblo and then onto Trinidad. A fun fact is that once you connect to Trinidad, we actually connect into the national Amtrak network. So which really opens it up to say we are now in the national network and folks can get out of Colorado through this and into Colorado from the south coming up. So that's what I'll say there. I'll stop talking and let you all ask questions, but this is the real presentation I wanted to present to you all tonight, and just say thank you for having me. So I'm sure there are many questions.
So isn't it true that the Boulder Longmont line that was supposed to be built stopped, RTD stopped those plans because BNSF decided that they could not share the line because of a crash that happened in California between private and, freight crashing together. The train. There was a big accident. This was like 10 years ago. And so I'm just surprised. I'm happy about this whole thing, but I'm just surprised that everything's sort of turned around because we don't have another rail line that's going through here for freight, do we? It's all BNSF.
Denver North, yeah.
So what changed?
Yeah, I would say collaboration with the host railroad changed. The state approaching them to commence the service and actually have a solution at the ready for them to actually negotiate with us on. That mattered a great deal. I would also say that when the fast tracks vote happened, they were promised 55 trains a day. So 55 is really unreasonable. That's a lot of trains. For example, if I compare 55 trains to what Front Range Rail is considering in their full build out of 10 round trips from Denver to Fort Collins, if you go up, what they found is after 10 daily round trips, the ridership and the cost actually starts to wane. It goes down in usefulness. So 10 is the ultimate what they want to build towards. I don't know where 55 came from. And also I think if we were to do 55 trains a day in Boulder County and through the suburbs of Westminster, Broomfield, Louisville, we would be run out with a pitchfork probably. So we're also just doing a more realistic project than what may have been promised 20 years ago as well. So something that we can actually.
Keep going home?
Yeah.
What are these trains going round trip?
So round trip.
Noon and night.
So the schedule I can't divulge yet because we're in negotiations with BNSF and I don't want to be sued by BNSF. That's not on my bingo card for this year in my last year of service with the state. And so we are looking at something, what I could say is something similar to what RTD initially contemplated for Northwest Rail with the peak service of 3 and 3 out. We're looking at something similar to that, but it's 3 daily round trips. So it's not going to be the ideal schedule. This is to show Coloradans that we can do this. We can start using it and have usefulness maybe in the morning, midday, and afternoon, late evening. We did try to get through the front door a different weekend schedule. That way we could also maximize weekends because people just do different things then. But BNSF suggested, to keep your project at the lowest cost option and to reduce the amount of capital projects that are needed, why don't you all start with the same schedule 7 days a week? And so at their suggestion, we took that and are running with it. Yeah, which did actually save us a lot of money.
Just don't let RTD be in charge of the schedule. Because they'll put it all at 7 in the morning and then 6 at night and then everything in between, you can't get there.
Yeah, I will say RTD and the CEO, GM Johnson, has been a really collaborative partner. When the governor's office reached out to her to initiate how could we solve this problem, she was the one to actually kind of lean on her California experience and actually say, well, in California, all of the trains there are run under what's called a joint powers authority. So that might be something that you all look at here in Colorado. Little did she know that when this was suggested to the governor's advisor, that it would turn into a bill and then it would pass the legislature, sign into law, and that's the pathway that we're on. So she has a little bit of a brainchild here.
Kind of interesting, I feel, is what's old is new again.
Yeah.
When I was working in downtown Littleton on Powers, Prince Street, they just opened the light rail down to, Mineral, yeah. But when they were repaving Prince, they found the old trolley tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And when they were doing some work on Colfax recently for the new medians, I saw a stack of old track that they dug up. So it's like, old.
Yeah. We actually, up in the mountain corridor, there used to be a train service out there called the Yampa Valley Mail back in like the 1960s, and it ceased service. And so for the mountain corridor, they are steeped in this real history of like we've had. And here on the Front Range too, there's that history in the metro area as well as the trolley car. And actually, when we had the off the tunnel lease signing and access agreement at the governor's residence in May of last year, we were able to get a lot of things from History Colorado, like the rail spikes that they initially built and used for the line. And so there's a really deep history here in the state with rail. But yes, it is coming back. Any other questions? Yeah.
Thank you for the designation.
It's a really good question. I think if I had an RTD board member sitting here tonight, there's a few who would start saying that, well, we need to cut service. We don't have the money to do this. And what I would say back to that is, you don't know what you need to do quite yet when you haven't been presented a deal quite yet. So you actually don't know how the finances are going to shake out. So let us get to a deal. The region has never been this close to actually getting this far to actually get the permission slip to put passengers on the freight line. So progress is being made. Let us actually get to that point where we get the cost, and then we can talk about finances, because we do believe that RTD has the resources to contribute a portion of it, with the state being a co-investor. I mean, the legislature and the governor not often sign new fees into law to bring in revenue. And so there's a lot of political will to get this project done. And we, from the governor's office and CBOT, have done a lot of stakeholding for the past 2 years on this. And there's a lot of community support to bring this to fruition. I think the other misconception, or can't believe it, is people are like, this seems too good to be true. We've been promised a lot of things over the years. And so what we've had to say is, we respect that and hear that. We've never sat with BNSF to get the hard costs though, like we are today. So stick with us and we'll get there. Yeah.
The one would be to increase the amount. Just, I know some of that works. This would be super great if they missed the train back down.
Yeah.
I would have that.
Yep. Yeah. For future service expansion, that really is dependent on Front Range Passenger Rail District. Currently, the new general manager, Sal Pace, he is running at lightning speed right now, and he is doing a lot of outreach, a lot of different polling, and working with the legislature to find a pathway if they wanted to go to the ballot this year. What I would say to that, though, is he is doing the necessary pre-work to inform pre-ballot work. Nothing should be an indication that they are proceeding to the ballot this year quite yet. So until we figure out what they're going to do, and that independent board knows what they need to do, we don't know. They need to get a service development plan, which is a fancy federal process. It's a business plan at the end of the day. The feds now require that an operations plan needs to be published and a financial plan needs to be published. So they have some prerequisites before they can even refer this. So we think that 3 daily round trips starting in 29 will be good to start with. And then if they wanted to go this year in 28 or 30, they have that ability. It's just up. Yeah.
I think that's all we have time for.
Yeah.
This has
Thanks,
been
all.
great. So exciting.
Yes. I'm excited. I turned into a rail enthusiast. It is a lot of information, and you all handled it and took it all on purpose. So wow.
Well, the good thing for our recording, we can rewatch.
Yeah, that's right.
And I started for the second time, and I'm still trying to absorb it.
Still trying to. Well, thank you for inviting me tonight. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Yes, it would. Yep, it would be bi-directional. So we would have it. Yep, we'd have a train going north, and we have a train coming south from north. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
They would be happy.
Yeah. Thanks.
depending on times.
Are you gonna present off your computer, Melissa? Oh, okay. Wow, that's impressive. Okay.
Yeah. So, we kind of Melissa Horn.
Melissa, we might, sorry, can you come up here? We have the microphone up here. Thanks. Thank you. Would you like to sit? You can. Okay. Okay. All right.
All right. So those of you that don't know me, I am Melissa Horn. I am another aide to Councilwoman Sandoval. I have her land use and policy concerns. I'm not usually here. Usually you see Alessandra, but I came to talk to you about unlocking housing choices. This is something that we really want to make people aware of. It's moving forward. A lot of people are really not familiar with it. And we don't want this to be something that they go out for public feedback and people are saying, I've never heard of it. So I'm here. So what is unlocking housing choices? So this is a project that's being led by Community Planning and Development. It is in response to the community's desires for more types of housing. And it's going to be seeking to update the Denver zoning code to allow more smaller scale multi-unit housing options. So what we call missing middle housing across the city. It's going to advance the recommendation of Denver's adopted plans. So here in Sloan Lake, you don't have an adopted plan. So you rely on Blueprint Denver and Comprehensive Plan 20. So both of those plans do have guidance that kind of calls for this type of housing options in our neighborhoods. So what are the project goals for this? The project goals really are to allow more housing options in our residential neighborhoods. So this will help residents remain in their homes and in their communities. This will enable more attainable housing options and home ownership opportunities for people. We're going to update the design requirements for missing middle housing forms so that new construction is compatible with the existing neighborhoods and existing homes in the communities. And then we're going to encourage preservation of existing structures, and we're going to create incentives or require affordable housing and newly constructed missing middle housing. So as you can see here, that's kind of, we're using these different ways to ultimately increase our supply and unlock more choices for our community members. So in case you're curious where this applies, pretty much everywhere in Northwest Denver, practically. All those yellow, dark yellow, and orange areas are going to be your single unit, 2-unit, and row home districts. So that's the areas we're discussing as part of this project. So this would focus on those zoning types to add more small multi-unit structures to those zone districts, such as duplexes, triplexes, tandem houses, and other house scale type building forms. So really, we do want to match what's existing in our communities when we're adding these housing options. Let's see here. So as part of the unlocking housing choices, they did kind of create an advisory committee. There are 26 members on this advisory committee. In Northwest Denver, there are 2 representatives, one from the Berkeley neighborhood, is Alejandra Castaneda, and one from Sloan's Lake, or not Sloan's Lake, I'm sorry, Sunnyside, He is an architect and his name is Rob Kaczynski. We have 2 council members on there, not Councilwoman Sandoval. We have Councilman Flynn, who is in Southwest Denver, so the far southwest corner of the city and county of Denver, and Councilwoman Torres, which, as you guys are familiar, includes West Colfax, so a portion of what Sloan Lake Citizens Group covers. So they are our council representatives on this committee. So it's a variety of people from a variety of walks of life. There are community members, there are organizations representing, advocacy, representing places like Historic Denver, and they are all reviewing these policies to come up with some recommendations. These meetings are open to the public, and we encourage you to go and observe. You cannot participate, but you can certainly observe. They've already held 4 advisory meetings, and they've been going from July into November, really, and they'll kick back up in February. So, as you're aware, city has some financial issues here. So due to our $200 million budget shortfall, we had to look at this in a phased approach. We didn't have the staff we needed to do this all at once, but in a way that's not a bad. So we're going to do this in 2 phases. So this year we're going to have phase 1. We're going to be focusing on affordability and preservation in this discussion for this year. We're going to be looking at ways to allow missing middle housing when an existing structure is preserved. We're going to look at ways to allow missing middle housing when affordable housing units are provided. And then we're going to develop better design standards and and reduce residential building scales. We're going to bring down those large structures, disincentivize these enormous single family homes. And then we're going to give it a few years. We're going to see what comes of this. We want to see what's constructed, what's working, or is it working as intended? What changes do we need to make to the building forms, to the incentives that we're providing? And then we'll begin phase 2, so 2029. And then we'll develop additional market rate missing middle housing opportunities. We'll refine the retained structure and affordability incentives. We may keep them, we may not. And we'll continue to refine those building form and design guideline updates. So to look a little more carefully at this, so for allowing missing middle housing when existing structures are retained, the proposed changes here really would allow additional primary units when the existing primary structure is retained. So basically what we're looking to do is, quite often in many cases, the home that's existing on the lot today is cheaper than whatever would be torn down and rebuilt. And so we would love to see that cheaper to keep for someone else to buy. Yes. So, I'm sure you've seen the new homes that are constructed. Very few of them are as attainable as the existing homes that we have today. Attainable, meaning affordable and attainable, we kind of define differently, right? Affordability is based on area median. So does your income allow you to buy this? Attainable means, look, we're not going to call it cheap, but you may be able to get into that house. So we're just looking to create some more, both affordable and attainable. But what this would be more attainable options, right? By keeping that existing structure, we're going to have potentially an entry-level home for someone. We're going to have a home that may not be the most up-to-date, may only have 1 bathroom, but it could potentially house a family. And then we'll have 2 additional units, right? So these will all be much smaller than allowing the scrape and rebuild of 1 home into a giant single family home. So, we'd allow the addition in new structures, so we could have new structures. As you see here, like, this is not showing really well. See if this moves over.
There you go. Whoops.
All right, we have a couple options here. As you can see, we have cottage court there in the back, which is kind of like a garden court, if anyone remembers the old building form. So thinking of it as small structures around a center court area. We have a tandem house, so think of a home or home in back of a home. We've built an addition here on that duplex, so a side addition to allow another unit. And then at the very top there, we have a rear addition and a duplex to make the home a duplex. So this would all be types that we could allow by preserving the existing structure. So then, secondly, we have missing middle when affordable housing is provided. So basically, we are looking at this in two different ways. We have the single unit and 2-unit zone districts. So that's a lot of Sloan's Lake, really. And we would allow additional primary units. You can scrape what's there. But what you build, at least 1 unit has to be affordable. So that said, we are still figuring out what that looks like. So in theory, if you were to scrape the house and build a duplex, 1 of those units has to be affordable. A triplex, again, 1 unit has to be affordable. But what do we define as affordable? That's something that we are currently looking at with a financial feasibility study that we hope to get the results back shortly on, to determine what is affordable. Are we going off area median income? Is this 60% of area median income, 80%, 100%? You know, that will be something that's looked at and discussed. And the same thing with row home districts, right? Row house districts, we are going to have to develop a form standard that incentivizes these income restricted units. But we haven't really gotten what that'll look like quite yet. This is still quite new in the process, but that's why we're bringing this to you, to get your feedback early. And then, you know, as I talked about, these building form and design updates. We really do want what is built to match what is existing in size, especially. So if you look at that bottom, you can see, you know, we have a bungalow on that far right, and you can see an example of a new single family home that may be built that maxes out every square inch that they can get in there, that dwarfs that bungalow, right? Another example could be, you know, quite often we see here the older homes, the Denver Square is kind of our queen large structure that is easily dwarfed by even duplexes of some of these massive new duplexes. So we're trying to disincentivize them, right? So we really do want to better align the height and size allowance with what's existing in neighborhoods. We want to establish a maximum floor area allowance. So that's your maximum square footage above ground. And then what we would be doing is we'd be increasing that for every additional unit you provide. So we want to make it so that we are incentivizing the building of missing middle housing instead of large single family homes or duplexes. We want to turn those incentives around. And so, you know, then we'll also be updating our forms to reflect the differences in context. What is appropriate in suburbia is not necessarily appropriate in an urban context like Sloan. And we want to make sure that these design guidelines and these building forms reflect those differences. So for community planning and development, who's leading this process, here are their next steps for unlocking housing choices project. They're going to continue working with the advisory committee on strategies. They're going to meet again on February 5th, and then again on April 16th. Community planning and development will start holding public meetings throughout the city in early 2026. That's all they can tell us now. I can't possibly give you a date. They don't know. But we will be receiving, or we'll be expecting the findings and recommendations from that financial feasibility study I discussed. And we'll be having a document that the city's going to create of the strategies that they're recommending. They're going to put that together and share that out with the public and get your feedback in approximately the first half of 2026. And if we are optimistic and all goes to plan, they are hoping to have this adopted by city council by the end of the year. Could be optimistic, we'll see. So that's why we're here, is we wanted to make sure that we bring this forward to you, bring this to your attention, and get this out in the community with such a tight timeline. And then finally, we're asking you to get involved, right? We want you to get involved. We want you to stay informed. We want you to share your feedback with community planning and development. You know, this has the potential to reshape the housing options in your community. You know, your participation is going to be crucial in shaping the recommendations that are provided. So we're asking you to sign up for project updates, to review some of the documents if you're curious more on how we got here. You know, there's some peer city research that's been done that kind of informed their recommendations. some issues and the like. And I'll share this document with Sloan's Lake so you guys can all access these links. And then most importantly, if you have thoughts, you have questions or anything else, we want you to share it with community planning and development. This is their project. They need to hear from people beyond the advisory committee on their thoughts on this project. If you love it, if you hate it, if you have concerns, or you are very excited for it, share it all. And we're also asking for you to take time to either, in person, online, observe a advisory committee meeting, and then share this information with friends and neighbors. This is, for the most part, a very unknown project. And we don't want this to get to the end of the year and everyone to scream, we have never heard of this before. Because that is what will happen. Does anyone have any questions? So there's some links there that, the advisory committee meetings on February 5th and the 16th. You can just attend and observe those. Oh, they're held at the web building, or you can attend via Teams, I want to say. But you can attend virtually, or you can go in person to the web if you are so inclined to partner. And what were you asking?
We have to get the link in order to figure out.
Right, there is. So if you go here, there's some links that I provided throughout this, including up top here, and I can send a separate one with recordings and everything. They haven't released the link. There's nothing to share as of now.
So it's zoning, or so they're not.
So the zoning would stay the same. So in Sloan's Lake, most of Sloan's Lake is single unit, SU, and TU unit. You will retain your zoning. What we are looking at updating are things like lot sizes, right? To be able to fit another home for sale on your lot. If you are, let's say, a 6,000, a size C lot, which is a minimum size of 5,500 square feet, you're unlikely to fit another home on your lot unless you have a very large 10,000 plus square foot lot, right? 11,000 square foot lot. So this would have to shrink those. And it'll have to change those building forms. What are the setbacks, right? Can you build closer? How will those building envelopes work within the existing lots that we have? So that's some ways can be a little confusing for people to know that you have single unit zoning and to see 3 homes spring up next to it. So, I think that if people aren't informed, this could be quite a shock.
Indeed. So if you have a detached garage and you have it renovated, you own both the house and the garage. You can't sell that off separately.
Correct.
And you
So-
still cannot do that.
Correct.
I know you can't do it now, but they're not proposing you can split your lot into 2 houses and sell the 2 owners.
Like your ADU, is that what you're thinking
Yeah,
of?
like if there's an ADU on your lot, can you sell that separately? Because you can't now.
Currently, no, right? Because it is currently an accessory to the primary.
Right.
So as long as we are zoning that as an accessory dwelling unit, we wouldn't be able to sell that off as an additional unit, but it has been discussed. It's not off the table, but that's not necessarily one of the initial recommendations.
So these
Yes.
2 little,
Yes, Tom.
You showed that area that looks like it's Southwest Denver with, curvy streets.
Oh yeah, that is Southwest Denver, isn't it?
And,
Or Southeast, both have them.
but it's like down in Flynn's area, but so you're showing a house with a duplex behind it though, to the upper left. Would that have 2 owners or?
Yes, it could.
one?
so that's what I'm.
So-
Same thing I'm saying. There could have 2 owners on 1 lot.
Correct, yes.
Okay, that's-
So if you were to build another structure, so let's say you use the housing preservation, so you kept your home, and somehow we were able to rearrange your lot to add an additional 1 or 2 units. In theory, each one of those additional units could be for sale.
I understand you can do that right now. In certain places.
There's,
I could sell an AD that I don't own.
separately? Typically, no.
I would detach the sewer system, put another sewer tap in, and put another water tap in.
Those would all be things you'd have to do, but the city, as of today, would not necessarily allow it unless your zoning did, right? Like, can you accommodate that in your lot size? Does your lot allow tandem housing? Because are you trying to consider that a tandem house? So there's some, like, you're kind of heading down a really niche thing where, like, could it be done under very specific circumstances? Potentially. Some of the ones that existed before 2010, when we rezoned. And so, like, I know one in Berkeley exists. There are some old carriage houses that similar things have been done, but it's not common.
So there's gonna be tons and tons of questions, and we can't accommodate any
Fair.
more tonight.
That's okay.
However, so the best way to get our questions answered right up front, I'm guessing there's a lot of information online for one.
There is, and so
Okay.
there would be some links to all that in the presentation.
Okay,
I encourage you to reach or to look through that. You're welcome to reach out and talk with me. Happy to chat with anyone.
Great.
And then also reach out and share your thoughts with community planning and development. This is not our project. We are not leading this. We're not on this, but we do want to make you aware of
and it's not up for vote or anything, it's.
it. It could be by the end of the year, but currently no, right?
Okay.
We're coming too early. We want you to be able to participate in this process to shape these recommendations. And you can't do that at the last minute.
But it's a vote by city council.
It will be. It'll be a zoning change, right? We are making changes to the zoning code, which, like any changes to the zoning code, will have, it'll be heard at planning board. It'll be heard in committee. So planning board has a public hearing opportunity. It'll be heard in committee, no public hearing opportunity. And then it'll be a first reading at council and then a final reading and public hearing.
Very good. Wow.
Yeah, happy to chat with anyone. Yeah, it is not something that I can easily summarize in our newsletter, which is why I'm here. But yeah, I'm happy to chat with anyone. Please do reach out if you have any questions, and do reach out to community planning and development.
So currently it's like USUC, that would remain the same, and you're allowed whatever permitted use would change. Yes, no?
Permitted uses, no, it's not a different use per se, right? Because it would still be a residential use.
Right.
And we're not proposing a different use, but we are proposing a different approach to that zoning. So unfortunately, what you end up with is what I would call confusing zoning. You know, the words don't seem to match the actions. But, you know, at least initially, we are proposing those very narrow things. If you have a housing preservation bonus, right, you're preserving your existing housing, you get that bonus, or you promise affordable housing. And however we deem that once we get that feasibility study. But again, this is just, you know, and I want to reiterate that Sloan's Lake especially has numerous types of this missing middle housing, and has for, you know, decades. This stuff goes back, you know, long ways in Sloan's Lake. You have Garden Court, you have some of those old duplexes from the 20s and 30s. There's a lot of missing middle already existing, and we're just trying to bring some of that back. But this is why we're here. We want to get your feedback. We want you to share your feedback with community planning and development. And please reach out to me if you have questions.
Thank you, Melissa. And next we have Alessandra. Council aide, to fill us in on the latest. With council district. Uh-oh. I hate it when it happens.
Well, we can have a computer listen. Sure.
Oh, perfect. A one-stop shop. I am currently sharing that, but that's great.
I don't, it just hasn't come up here yet. I think. I wonder if I need to.
So
That's
on
interesting.
yours,
Hmm,
hit stop share.
You have to do that the last time. Thank you.
There we
There you
go.
are.
Okay. So I'm gonna go really fast. I'm Alexandra Dominguez. I'm a different aide for Councilman Sandal. 2 out of 3. We have in-person office hours. That's Friday, January 30th, 11 to 1. You can sign up using the link below. City council renovation. So currently chambers are being renovated. City council meetings are currently in the Par Widener room until approximately June. Probably later than that because construction always gets delayed, but at the very least until June. You can still attend in person at the Par Widener room.
Is that in the same building?
Same building, 3rd floor. Tree cycle, weekday drop sites through the 30th, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Sloan's Lake Boathouse, I think Deb was gonna go over it. Yes, so I have it here. I'll let Deb do it just because my computer's close to the end
okay.
here. If that's okay, Deb.
That's fine.
Lead reduction program. So Denver Water is currently going through updates with their lead reduction program. You can look at an up-to-date project map to see if your area is going to be covered. And then there's also a link for the reduction program. Free radon tests. So you can order a free radon test to do at home. Recommended to do every 2 to 3 years. Currently, TRUA is open. So if you need or know anyone that needs help with rental assistance for utility or relocation, please let them know that there's a phone number and a website. Denver legacy businesses. So there are some nearby for, I think there's 14 of them. So check them out whenever you get a chance to support local. Updates to the sidewalk implementation plan. This one's big. They are currently going through a process. They want feedback on the roadmap that will become the implementation map. So that's repairing, building new, or replacing old sidewalk. There is a survey online that's open through the 15th. They're also going to have pop-up events, and there will be a telephone town hall next month.
On the sidewalk.
On the site. Home heating assistance, you've seen that before. Insurance, restaurant liaison project. So if you own a restaurant or operate one, please take a survey. Denver Snow Angels. Okay, so when I first brought this up, we were doing really well. We were the #1 district. We had the most volunteers, but not anymore. So if you can please sign up, that would be great.
No.
We don't need volunteers.
It's gonna be a late winter. Yes, brothers. City info one-stop shop. So if you have any special interest in the city, you can go to this link and sign up for a multitude of newsletters. You don't have to click on all the individual links that I used to have. You can just go to this one website and check off your interests. Again, you've seen this information before. You also have Councilwoman Parity and Gonzalez Gutierrez as at-larges for City Council. Legislative initiatives. If you're not subscribed to our newsletter yet, you can scan that QR code and you can sign up right now to get a lot of the information I'm telling you today, but like way earlier. Ways to report crime. So I always like to highlight, you can text 911. That's a huge plus in my opinion. Contacts for DPD, commander and lieutenant, your CROs, street engagement team, Dottie information. I know Alan is part of Sloan's Lake and the Dottie Advisory Board. So he's a super great asset. Parks and Rec Advisory Board. Again, we're super lucky. We technically have 2 appointees instead of 1 because the mayor's appointee lives in our district. Citizens Advisory Group. Okay, this is a huge, huge change for realsies. It used to be every third Wednesday at 6 p.m. They would have it virtual or in person. They are alternating what time they're doing it. So tomorrow it will be at 10 a.m. I will be there. Next month it will be at 6 p.m. In March it will be at 10 a.m. again. This is their own thing that they're trying, that they're piloting. We'll see how it works. But they are alternating. So do not rely on same time, same place, same bat channel. Okay. Contacts for city resources, 301, super great, data collection, blah, blah, you've heard me say it. Ways to connect with us here, obviously. The District 1, our phone number, newsletter, website, Facebook, Instagram, office hours, ways to connect with us, or I'm sorry, office staff, Gina, Melissa, and myself. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
I looked online today and even with Martin Luther King Day, they're not changing the trash.
Okay.
You put it out the usual day, even though Monday was a holiday. So I don't know what happened, whether the spaceships got that track, I don't know.
Maybe they did. They didn't send us anything, I don't think. That said there was a disruption. Yeah.
That must be why
So-
they didn't send it.
Yeah, I don't know who was or wasn't working just because of the city holiday.
Yeah.
Like I would assume, I suppose, that they wouldn't pick up, but they didn't tell us anything different. Yeah. Yeah,
And it's even large item pickup.
there you go. Large.
Oh, that's why I like it.
Yes. Well, which item in particular? Well, for housing, that would be city planning and development, and they do have that particular committee. Everything has, for the most part, its own avenue. So it really is case by case. Currently, the biggest thing that we're working on coming to city council is the DOA overlay. That was on 32nd. Are we still accepting support letters or anything?
Yeah.
like that?
So we are in the process of rezoning. So this will be from.
That's huge.
It is, so it's two-part rezonings. We have from Julian to me. It's currently zoned UMS3, so Main Street 3 stories. And we are applying the design overlay 8, which is the active center floors design overlay. That's to require active ground floor use if anything is rebuilt. So what we don't want is right now, if you know where Peace Alley is, one owner, actually two owners, two brothers own that entire street. And they're 80, don't all work for us. So although they're happy, their heirs may not. We would hate that building full of just housing with no ground floor retail, because that would really change the commercial character of Penn Square. And so this says, in the event that something, then you have to have that active ground floor use on that property. It doesn't affect, anything that's standing as is. We have specifically excluded all homes that are part of the historic district. So if you look at the map, it looks very gap too. Because there's two historic districts, I think we're switching in. But so that will just apply from Julian to me. And then from me to Perry is currently zoned 2 stories. So it's UMX, so mixed use. For the more residential portion. UMX 2 stories. To apply the DOA, it needs to be 3 stories. So right now they can build 2 stories of apartment. They don't have to ask us. We're saying if you're going to get 2 stories of apartments in it, we want to have that active ground floor use. We want to make sure that we're continuing that commercial space all the way to Perry.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be just reasonable, but what we do is have is that transparency requirement, so if you want to stick an architecture in there, that's great, well, it's flat. Because from a pedestrian experience, it can feel very different to go against the harder wall as opposed to the transparent. And we want to make sure that we're encouraging that extension of that commercial space. Because if you think about what's at least 30 years, like little children's toy store, right? So you have this erratic use all the way down there, and something that typically confuses people is things like sassafras, not historical. So you could take sassafras and combine it with some of the neighbors and have quite a large. And we want to make sure that we are requiring if that was ever.
And that was presented today at Community Housing and Planning Committee. So if you'd like to watch that recording, you can. If that's something you want.
Yeah, and if you'd love to submit a letter of support, we'd love to have it. So my contact information in chat, feel free to reach out to me. We'd love to have your letters.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just have time for very quick updates. So as you know, there were 2 public sessions at the Boathouse for input for renovation and a survey. And on the 29th of January, there's going to be, they're going to lay out what was the most popular design and what their plans are. So that's going to be 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. on January 29th at the Boathouse. This is going to be a bear garden. Does everybody know this yet? Is this not news? I want to know if people know this.
You told.
Okay. So you guys knew? Oh, okay, good. Yeah. So yeah, there's a whole lot of information about this. It is online, and this was put out by Colorado Food and Beverage, and there's very little information. I know we're running out of time, and but essentially, theoretically, this is going to be starting early this year. So there should be more updates available. I think it's going through the city right now for just clearance. I honestly don't know. I've tried to call the owner. So this is all I know for now. This is what it's going to be. And there's going to be vendors here, and it's going to be self-serve beer. So this will be interesting, and we'll definitely keep you updated because I know you all are very interested in this. I know I am.
Is it a new owner that's bought it, or is it?
It's the same owner who they were trying to lease it for $7,000 something a month. I think I might have mentioned that in the past. Of course, that nobody's going to take that offer. And so I guess the owner now is developing the property with the help of some, obviously, engineers and architects and so forth. So
it's
yeah,
the same
owners, yeah, and they're just unreachable. The architect is track architecture and engineering is Raptor civil engineering.
Where can you find information?
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, we can actually, I think we can send something out maybe.
Put it on the website.
Yeah, I mean, I just Googled it, right?
Okay.
I Googled the address, which is 3500 West 23rd.
Yeah.
So, and it will come up in your Google search. So, found out by being nosy. So, because I saw the for lease sign went away. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? So, then I found that online. So, and also Heidi Newhart let me know about it too. She's with West Colfax. So I don't know how she found out before I did. But anyway, that's the main reason I found
Yeah,
out.
however.
Yeah.
Everybody was so afraid that they would repeat what was north of that.
Yeah, right.
23rd, this side, so we can breathe a sigh of relief.
Yeah, no, seriously, this is
I
exciting.
mean,
I
they
love it.
stuffed 17 units.
That north side building, ugh, Anyway, hopefully you don't live there, but, anyway. And so this is I think we should talk later about a good neighbor agreement around this, because it might be more receptive to people in the neighborhood. So we can talk about that at another time. Yeah. And then this just quickly is the Kai who was badly injured at 23rd and Irving. And what happened? Do you guys want to hear what happened here?
Yep.
Oh my gosh, it was terrible. So I had happened to be driving by and I saw a mashed up bicycle laying on the street and all this police activity at 23rd and Irving. And so of course I followed what was going on, and apparently he was at the intersection going north on his bicycle, going home. That's his only transportation. And anyway, these kids were racing. They had just stolen a car and they were racing down or north on Irving, and they totally blew the intersection at 23rd and Irving. They just blew through it. Somebody was just entering the intersection right at the time that they were racing through that intersection and flipped these guys' car, spun it around and into this bicyclist. And he flew, of course, over this car and all this, and he's in the hospital. He I'll just read you real quickly the GoFundMe page by his parents. On December 10th, our son, John Luke, was in a terrible accident in Denver. He was returning home from work. I told you all this actually. So his bike was shredded. Neighborhood folks came out and held our son's hand until the ambulance arrived. Others chased the boy that hit him and they were apprehended. So yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Pretty much right away, because witnesses chased after and helped inform the cops where they went. Yeah, they chased, well, the cops, mainly the cops came, and then these witnesses saw where these kids went.
Oh.
They went off on foot.
Oh.
See, because their car was gushed. Yeah.
They got in the accident, so they got.
Yeah. Yep. So his recovery may take a few months, and so there is a GoFundMe out there. I just think there needs to be more conversations about traffic calming on Irving and 23rd, and
It's right here.
it doesn't have to look like 29th. It doesn't have to look like 29th, but just something more than they shouldn't have been able to speed. That's the way I look at this, and a lot of people look at it this way, right? So anyway,
What time of day is
this happened right in the afternoon. It was like 1 something, I think. Might have been a little later than that, but it was in the afternoon.
Not middle of the night.
No, broad daylight. So, I mean, I realize this is kind of a freak thing, but still, like I just said, they shouldn't be able to go, nobody should be able to go that fast. Right. Right. Right.
Just driving along.
But this is a very busy intersection. It's dangerous. You can speed on Irving, and that's a problem. And you can speed on 23rd, and that's a problem. Yeah. So.
Always, well, I mean, you got 4 different corners. You got 4-way stop up there. So, I mean, they're doing. To me, I go by that intersection so much, and I mean, I'm usually walking, but it isn't all that. I mean, they're not really speeding. 23rd, they're pretty fast. Irving, not.
You don't think so?
23rd is.
Other people.
They're driving fast on 23rd, but there's a 4-way stop there.
True, but
So, I
on
mean-
Irving, I hear it all the time that there's a lot of speeding going on there.
So you're saying you don't want them to speed as much, but you
Yeah.
want it to be like.
But the-
Right.
What traffic calming measure are you envisioning?
Maybe some more speed bumps.
Or
It doesn't have to be as bad as 29.
maybe a roundabout.
I see
Yeah.
what you're saying, but you gotta be careful what you wish for, because if the state comes in and decides they want to do like 29.
Well, I just don't think that's going to happen again, because there's been so much pushback. against that whole situation. And actually, we should have Dottie here so they can give us feedback on what they learned from the survey on about 29th. You know, I would love to know what they learned from that. Wouldn't that be, you know, might have to ask Alan about that. But you're right. I agree with you. I just feel like we should do more.
Yes.
Yeah, not tons more, maybe.
They were sitting in part, I don't know what measures.
Right. That's a good point, but maybe that's a good point. I mean, it is a fluke thing, but I guess the other thing that maybe I need to do is just figure out, is this a high injury network at all, or are there more accidents than we're aware of, and that sort of thing.
We can definitely check into that.
Would you please? Would you check in?
You know, with like specific asks, right?
Yes, yes, and yeah, and if you don't hear from me right away, will you remind me?
Yes.
Thank you. Hello?
What are the chances of ever getting cameras up, speed cameras up around all these different? They got YouTube people where they send them tickets to go at the fast. Why can't they do that?
I don't know the logistics are. I know that equipment is really expensive. I know that equipment is really expensive. I don't know. But that looks like that's what it's like. No, I'm not arguing that. I don't know what it would take. I really don't. I'm not sure.
Cindy?
I just think it'd be a real good thing. Anybody else 30 seconds? They're what, high school? They're paying a company out of Pasadena, California to take photos of everybody going, the street was supposed to be pretty.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're sending out fans, so
Yeah, I know they have them on Lincoln, over here in downtown. I know they have it here. On like Lincoln in 17th, that would be here. How do I know? Because going to it's at 9 a.m. But I know that we do have them. I don't know what it takes to get it.
I'm thinking kill two birds with one stone. The city could make more money, right? Do they not? And we can get people to drive away.
I think it's only getting started on right. I don't know why you wouldn't hire something that generates revenue. Yeah, they have. That's really like I am pretty good at it. Yeah.
You have anything else?
Michael.Johnston@denver.gov.
Okay, you guys, we have to wrap it up, but we are going to have federal BRT among lots of other items next month.
Yeah.
What's that?
How badly injured?
Pretty badly. A lot of fractures in his back. Yeah, yeah. So, and he's gonna need a new bike, so maybe SLCG can, you know, can contribute. What do you think, you guys? Yeah. That's a great question, actually. I'll try to find out. Thank you, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Good to see you. Good to see you too. And